All right, Kwab is back. Hot take to start the show. What you got?
My hot take to start the show is that after watching the Nets lose another game and in the fashion they did, they're gonna run away all through the
Wait,
East.
what?
They're just gonna win. They're gonna win the East. They
No,
might
they're
run
not.
all the way to the championship. I feel like
Where is this delusional net fan coming from?
I feel like
Who are
they're
you?
they're gonna be unstoppable. Also, I want you. I know the people that are listening. If you're watching this, I want you to pay attention to my shirt. So I feel like the Nets are going to
Right.
like it's just go. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. It's gonna be
Steve Nash,
crazy.
Coach of the Year. Steve Nash, Coach of the Year.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Well, all that and more next on the time.
You are now listening to The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, your weekly go-to podcast for all things NBA. And now, your host, Josh Rodriguez.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Dime, presented by the Ball is Life Podcast Network. Teams we thought would be good are bad. Teams we thought would be bad are good. How long will this beginning of the season paradox last? Me and my guests hit up Twitter polls and then play another edition of For Real or Fugazi. But first, if you want to follow Dime, you can on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. Like I said, the last two episodes, all episodes going forward, will be broadcasted on the Ball is Life Podcast Network YouTube channel. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, if you just type in The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, or if you just type in Ball is Life Podcast Network, you'll find the show. You'll see what it looked like. You'll see what Kwab looks like. I know you're curious because he's been on the show about 77 times. So definitely subscribe to that channel. Subscribe to the Dime with Josh Rodriguez YouTube channel because I have that as well. Turn on notifications and look out for the latest episodes of The Dime. Give the videos thumbs up, subscribe, comment, leave a hot take or question to be aired or talked about on the show because you are a part of the show, just like my next guest. He's back for the 44th time. At this point, he's an honorary co-host of The Dime. He's a rapper. He's a producer. He's one of my best friends. Everybody, please welcome back to the show, Kwab.
Guess who's Bazak?
Yeah, buddy. What's up, Kwab? I thought you were serious with your hot take. It scared the shit out of me. I'm like, who are you?
I'm dead serious. Look at my shirt.
You're
I'm
not.
dead.
That's a call to action to everybody listening to the podcast to go look at his shirt because there's no way Kwab is serious at all. Kwab, how are you? Doing good?
I'm great. I'm great. Just another Nets loss. It's great. It's just I love basketball. I love watching it. I love rooting for a team where it gets to scream at the TV every time they play. It's amazing.
Wow. Welcome to life as a Knicks fan for the past 20-something years.
True. Very true.
Very true. All right. Well, are you ready to go pole dancing, man? You know it's my favorite segment to do.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right.
You know you want it. It's time to go pole dancing. Get your mind out the gutter. We're talking about Twitter polls. My goodness.
Yeah, baby. Hit the music. It's time to go pole dancing. I put up 3 polls on my Dime's Twitter page. I keep saying it's my Twitter page. My Twitter page is at Josh Rodriguez. Oh my God, I didn't know my Twitter page. At Josh_Rodriguez_. At the Dime's Twitter page, at the Dime NBA. I put up 3 polls. You guys answered. Twitter strays answered. Kwab and I are going to go over the results. Are you ready to do so?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first take, question number 1, which head coach would be fired first? Coming in at first is Doc Rivers at 47.6%, Steve Nash 33.3%, and then 19% said neither, which is kind of shocking. So I guess 19% think that they're going to last through the year. I don't think so. Kwab, you're a Nets fan, but unbiasedly, how would you answer this?
Unbiasedly,
Yeah.
it's if the Sixers keep trending the way they're trending right now, it's gonna be Glenn. It's gonna be Glenn Rivers. I don't know. I see Nash should have been fired before the season started, and that's
So you
not. I'm
think he
not.
should have been gone?
He should have been gone. I'm not even talking about because of the KD request. It should have happened. It should have happened when the season ended. I didn't think he was coming back. A lot of people didn't think he was coming back, but Sean Marks' boy was like they kept him and they're moving forward with him. I don't really see them firing him because I don't really trust the options behind him. Like I don't really trust Jack Vaughn running the team, so I don't see that happening. But it's concerning with the Sixers the way they look. So it might be Doc Rivers.
Yeah, I think it's Doc as well. I think Steve Nash is going to be given the whole year to fail, not just succeed, but really fail. I don't think they would have brought him back. I mean, honestly, because Kevin Durant wanted him fired, right? That's what everyone was saying in the offseason. That was one of his demands if he were to come back to the Nets, but they ended up keeping Steve Nash just because KD had no leverage. So you know that the front office wants Steve Nash to be the coach. I do think he deserves a shot to actually coach the team and not just like be a figurehead. Unfortunately, I don't think he's doing a great job so far this year. I also think he has the out that Doc doesn't have in the sense where the Nets aren't completely healthy. Seth Curry is out. Joe Harris is in and out. Markieff Morris is out. Ben's coming back from injury. So I think Steve Nash can lean on that a little bit. So for me, it's Doc. And, to me, I think he should be fired right away. I'm not the type of person to kind of call for a head coach's head like that, but the 76ers window is open right now, and it's not going to be open for much longer, especially if this thing implodes the way it looks like it's going to implode under Doc Rivers. You're going to have to blow up that team eventually. James Harden is looking good right now, but you don't know how long that's going to last. You don't know how long Joel Embiid's going to be happy with that organization. And, I'm not sure there's one person who has benefited more from one championship than Doc Rivers. I mean, seriously, like that 2008 championship is like the freaking Mario star in Mario Kart. And he like lapped everybody with it. He came in first place. And then you're sitting there like in the back wondering how the hell is this dude in first place? He's not that nice. It finally caught up to him.
I feel like you tweeted out. You tweeted out after was it the loss against the Spurs that you tweeted out like you think like Doc should be fired right away? I forget.
It was against the Spurs. I'm like, you got to fire him. I mean, some of it had to do with the fact that I had money on that game in Vegas, and I was kind of upset. That was the real motivation behind it. I was watching the game like baffled that they were losing to the San Antonio Spurs at home. So that was part of it. But also, my thing is, it's like I look at that team, right? And I was just talking about Steve Nash. You can make excuses or you can give reasons as to why, the Nets aren't performing the way they're performing. No offense to David Duke, aside from having the worst name on planet Earth. But when he's getting big time minutes, I don't really expect much from y'all. You know what I mean? When Seth is out, when your two best shooters are on the bench and you have Ben Simmons, who literally can only exist in a half court offense if you have shooters spreading the floor, you get a little slack from me. So for me, I think Steve Nash deserves a little bit of slack. But with Doc Rivers, there's like, what holes in the roster do the Sixers have, really? Seriously. You have shooters. You have a superstar. You have a point guard in James Harden. You have defenders like PJ Tucker and Tobias Harris and D'Anthony Melton coming off the bench, makes it a little tougher. I think they were a little weak on the perimeter with Harden and Maxey defending. But aside from that, like what are the Sixers missing?
That's you just listed one of the main issues of why they lost those games they lost. If you have a team that has scoring wings and you run the floor, like if you fast break, you have a chance against the Sixers.
Yeah. But I mean, because the Sixers don't play defense. That's the problem. They can score, but they don't play defense.
They don't get back on defense. I think they might be the worst transition
fast
defense
break.
Team. Fast break team.
They are the worst. Yeah.
And then the problem is that because Harden is not really that good of a perimeter defender, and neither is Tyrese Maxey, PJ Tucker can only take one person. And then Tobias so now again, for example, against the Celtics, you have PJ Tucker can only cover one of Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and then maybe Tobias Harris has the other one, but you still have other guards you have to contend with. And Joel Embiid isn't completely. I think they said he's coming back from a foot injury, so he's not completely healthy.
True.
You add that all in, and it's like the offense looks. If they're not running a pick and roll, it looks choppy.
But they still have no problem scoring the ball, though. Like I get what you're saying, but there's really no plan on offense. I see what you're saying. To me, it's defensively what you pointed out. It's a transition defense, but also for me, it's like if you have Maxey, if you have Harden, and they're not great perimeter defenders, you still have like rim protectors. Joel Embiid's a rim protector. You do, but but my thing is, it's like put more emphasis on guarding the 3-point line. Do you know what I mean? Like if people go by you, we'll make it a plan where it's like, well, instead of scrambling to stop the ball at the rim, let's trust Joel to do that, and let's guard the perimeter a little better. I don't know. It just seems like there needs to be a switch there. I can't point to anything aside from coaching. Like to me, defense is a lot of effort. Defense is a lot of detail, and they don't have that. And it's just unfortunate to see because I embarrassed myself and said I think the Sixers are going to be really good this year.
There's still a chance. It's early.
It's early, but it's different. Like, for instance, if your team, and I can't believe I'm going to say this because I think they suck. But if you're a team like the Lakers that's shooting like 20% from three, you could be like, it's early, 20% is really low. That can bump up to 32, 33, and they'll be okay. Like, you can say that, right? Like, I can't point to anything with the Sixers where it's like,
Are we
okay,
tell,
what's
wait,
that
wait,
stat?
before we even get into more in depth in there, are we going to be talking about the Lakers later?
No, we're not.
We're not. Okay. The Lakers are poorly constructed. There's no like, regardless of like the 20%. I understand what you're saying. That's like,
Yeah.
you can look on paper, but the game's not played on paper. You can look on paper and say the Sixers are put together a certain way that should be effective to run a certain way, a certain offense. Like, they are virtually unstoppable when they run the pick and roll.
Right.
Just because you have one of the best passers, one of the best big men, and you put together a perimeter of players that can catch and shoot. Even Tobias Harris spent the offseason working on being a floor spacer. He's an overpaid floor spacer, but he's now become like a better catch and shoot player.
He's shooting well this year.
He's shooting really well. Now the other problem is like, a player like Tyrese Maxey is better running the floor and finishing. They don't get stops where you can throw ahead. They play really slow. On top of, like, they feel like they're the same team, just slower. Like this year, which makes no sense. And all the talk people had this year, like, oh, they're gonna be one of the best teams. You said the last episode I did with you, you're like, yo, I'm gonna pick the Sixers. I don't want to do it. And
Why did I do it myself? Toxic relationship.
What was I saying? I was like, don't do it. I was saying, don't do it. That was before the season started. I was like, don't do it. Because
you're like that best friend who's just warning his best friend not to get back into that relationship because it's toxic.
I was telling you, bro, don't.
But I'm a grown man. I make my own decisions, and I pick them.
That's fine. You picked them, and then you lost money because they're losing to the Spurs because the Spurs were running the floor and killing them. That's the problem. So. But major point, we don't know. Maybe Doc will end up getting fired because, like, again, he's not Daryl Morey's guy. So maybe you get fired, and then D'Antoni would become the coach like they always wanted, and have the Houston reunion.
Yeah, because that's one way to fix your defensive problems. Hire Mike D'Antoni. Let's move on to the second poll question. Which team has been the biggest disappointment? Coming at 64.3%, it's the Philadelphia 76ers. 21.4%, it's the Los Angeles Lakers. At 14.3%, it's the LA Clippers. At 0%, Kwab, the Nets. No one chose the Nets.
Because they know.
Because they already know. Disappointed.
They
knew knew this about them. How can I be disappointed if I knew they were going to suck? So, yeah, I mean, just to kind of, harp on the same subject that we've been talking about for the past, maybe 10 minutes or so, I guess the Sixers are the most disappointing team in the league right now. Would you say that?
I mean, I guess because, again, they had probably the best offseason. Like, yeah, I think they probably had the best offseason.
They had an offseason that made you go, oh, wow, they addressed everything they needed to address. And now, all systems go. For sure.
Systems go. Like, yeah, because I don't think I'm trying to off the top of my mind, I'm trying to think like another team that had where you saw the moves that were being made. You were just like, oh, okay, that works. Right. They seem to have like the best offseason. So moving forward, it was like, okay, now you get a full year of Harden, who seems to be getting back in shape, and you get a full year of them two, Harden and Embiid and Maxey getting better, and all these other players. So you would think that, hey, they should be one of the better teams in the league. I think the one thing that everybody keeps saying, they're like, oh, James Harden is back. Like, I don't think he's looked that good. Like,
he's looked good. He's not looked like MVP James Harden, but like, he doesn't look like sit on the couch, eat donuts, and crawl to the bathroom James Harden.
I understand, like, he's putting up the numbers, and he's like, even when he first got traded to the Nets, and he was like in the fat suit, and he came. He still looked better. Like, I don't know if he's fully recovered from that hamstring injury. Like, he just doesn't look the same to me.
He doesn't pop.
He doesn't.
I get that, but I think one thing that I think actually Doc probably should get credit for is utilizing Harden and telling him to use his mid range, because now he's shooting mid range jumpers, and I think it's helping him out a lot. It's no longer get to the rim or shoot a step back three. So his game is more efficient for sure. But I think you're right. You know, the pop's still not there, but he's playing well. I mean,
They're losing.
yes, they are losing. They are losing. All right, let's move on. Instead of beating down the Sixers, I didn't mean for pole dancing to
That's cool.
beat down the Philadelphia 76ers.
Nah, fuck that. To all my Philly boys, this is for y'all. Like, I'm doing this for y'all.
Yeah. Oh, but the Phillies are in the World Series. We got the Phillies.
Now go Eagles.
Go Eagles. All right, question number 3. Which team has been the biggest surprise? Coming in at 45.5%, it's the Utah Jazz. 36.4%, the Portland Trailblazers. 18.2%, the San Antonio Spurs. And nobody's surprised about the Washington Wizards. Kwab, we got to be surprised about the Jazz, right? This has to be the Jazz, the biggest surprise.
Nah, man. Nah.
No.
We all saw this coming, right?
That's true. We did see this coming.
We saw this coming, bro. No, that's been the biggest surprise. I think a lot of it has to do with we saw all the trades that were being made. We're like, okay, they're trying to tank, but we not putting together like there's still a lot of really good players on that team.
Lloyd Markkanen's good. Colin Sexton's good. Jordan Clarkson's like these are all rotational pieces. It's not like they're starting people who like have 1 year experience in the league without any playing time. Yeah.
It has like that, like even you have Mike Conley, like at point guard, like however you feel about him, he's always been a solid point guard. I think Malik Beasley is still jacking up shots. Let's pair usual Jared Vanderbilt.
And remember when that trade was made, we were in Miami, and I was like, I like what Utah got back. Like, I was saying that. I was like, well, if you're going to build around Donovan, I actually like the kind of haul that they got back for this. Thinking that, like, you could probably build a team around Donovan with this. You probably just need to fill the center spot a little bit, but Ainge decided to blow it up.
Yeah. I mean, them blowing. I don't know how Ainge feels about this. If this was his original plan, was like, oh, we're gonna make all these trades, but we're still gonna win. What's happening? Like,
I look at Danny Ainge as he's like Dr. Claw and Inspector Gadget, like, you know, when like Inspector Gadget like saves the day and he gets all pissed off and like bangs the table with his cat. Like that's how I picture Danny Ainge watching Utah Jazz games, where it's like he's just sitting in a suite, pissed off that his team's winning for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, this is not going to last long. It can't last too long. There's no way.
Come on, you don't think Kelly Olynyk and
we'll talk about that later.
Carry it over. They're gonna make it happen, baby.
We'll talk about that later. We're gonna end pole dancing right there. The Brooklyn Nets, they lose to the Mavs tonight in overtime. They fall to 1-4. What's going on in Brooklyn, Kwab? Talk to me. You're a Net fan. You watch each game.
Just good vibes, bro. It's just like positivity. Just good vibes, my brother.
Right.
We're just keeping it moving. I think that part of it has to do with like, okay, here's my thing. It's first of all, it's early in the season, and it's not like they've played bumps and you've lost to bumps. That's always been like,
Facts.
Like the Pelicans are gonna be one of the best teams in the West.
Yep.
The Grizzlies are gonna be one of the best teams in the West.
Facts.
The Bucks are the Bucks.
Facts. The Mavs won the Western Conference Finals last year.
Yeah, they beat the Raptors, and the Raptors are still solid. Like, are still a solid team.
I like the Raptors a lot this year. Yeah, that was a good win.
So it's like that schedule is a brutal schedule to start with. First of all, so now that excuse aside, pushing that to the side. Defensively, they've looked terrible. Ben Simmons still doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look like the same player, even close to it. I understand. A lot of people felt like this would be the type of perfect fit for him because he'd be surrounded by shooters and he'll still be able to look like the Ben Simmons of old. He doesn't look explosive. He looks like somebody that's coming back from a back injury. Like he doesn't look at the rim whatsoever. Like that part is weird to me. Like I understand like he doesn't shoot. I get that. Fine. You have centers guarding you, and like it was Steven Adams or like Valanciunas, and you're basically backed up all the way to like the end of the paint, just looking at you like, go ahead. And he'll dribble, and it'll be a DHO, dribble handoff. And even when he does that, he doesn't roll to the basket. Even tonight, we were texting when he got the steal from Luka, and he made the pass. to KD to tie up the game. I'm like,
he got bailed out.
he looks dead.
Yeah.
Like he had a one-on-one matchup against Tim Hardaway, and because he's worried about, I guess, going to the free throw line or whatever it is, he picked up the ball, turned around, and Kevin Durant was streaking, and he made the right pass. And it was a great play, but he looks like a shell of himself, and it's also, I know that before the season, Kyrie was talking about he's trying to focus on like an MVP type season. He's been shooting a lot, like even more than usual, like a lot. When Ben and Claxton are on the floor, it's like the floor is completely shrunk. It really comes down to, which is sounds so stupid. It really comes down to they'll win games if Royce O'Neal plays well.
Man, that's disheartening.
If Royce O'Neal has a solid game, they have a chance.
So yeah, I caught the Nets in bits and pieces. I watched the third and fourth quarter of today's game, and to me, like it's interesting because you watched them play against the Mavs, and it's not so much that they're a stark difference in the way they play, but it's the Mavs know who they are, and I'm not saying the Mavs are this great team, but you know that Luka's gonna get the ball. It's gonna be a pick and roll. If you overhelp, it's a kick 3-pointer. If you switch and he gets mismatched, Luka's taking him. It's like they know what they're doing on offense. There's a game plan and there's an identity. And I think my problem with the Nets is that there's no identity. They have no idea who they are, and they have a lot of options in which, they can derive to. Like, can we be a team that gives the ball to KD and runs the, every option through KD and have him work? Can we be a team that gives Kyrie the ball and runs a pick and roll offense and have him go to work? Can we be a team that gives the ball to Ben Simmons and just spread everybody out and, shoot threes? And they don't know what they are. And it just kind of turns into like an offense that just reminds me of like pickup, where like you have a bunch of talented people and you give the ball to the talented people. Go fry his ass, right? Wait, go ahead, go do that. And that's what that's. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you get into that mode and pick up basketball, where it's just kind of like give the ball to the best player and just let him go to work.
It's like, kind of crazy. You said that because the post game interview, they asked Kyrie about going against Luka with KD, and he was like, "Oh, it feels like pickup."
Yeah.
That's exactly.
That's what he said. I didn't know he said that, but that's what it reminds me of watching the Nets. It's like, we might run a pick for Kyrie at top, but Kyrie's gonna dance a little bit. We're gonna get the ball to KD in spots where he can, but there's no really imagination or anything in any of their plays. I know they had this one play late in the game. KD kind of came off of his screen. He caught the ball at the end, and it was a nice design play. KD just missed the three, but there's like no identity in offense, and I don't think they know who they are yet. And that takes some time. And to your point, they did have a tough schedule to start the season. So I do think there is some grace to give the Nets. As a Knicks fan, I don't think it pains me to say that, but I think my fellow Knicks fans are not going to want to hear that because they hate y'all right now. But I do think,
why y'all winning?
Because,
like let it go. Let this like big brother mentality. Y'all got to let it go. Let go of the energy, baby.
I'm just a messenger. I have slow, like, that Homer Simpson meme where he like slowly backs into the bushes. That's me with Knicks Twitter. Like last year I started like, I'm all for this, I'm down, I was in spaces, and now I'm just kind of like in the bushes, like I don't want to do this. Y'all are wild. So are you panicking right now? Or where are you right now? 1 to 10 as a Nets fan.
Bro, I just told you as my to start
Without
the show.
sarcasm. No sarcasm.
No sarcasm. They're gonna run the East, and I don't know. I just it's early, so I try to give it time. But you see the red flags. I know they brought in. I remember they brought in the assistant coach Igor. I forget. I don't want to even say his last name. I'm gonna mess it up. But to put in like a kind of like a motion free flowing offense,
and that way in the preseason.
Because it was a preseason. The problem is when the game starts, when the actual game starts, and when they get down, it becomes, F it, give me the ball, KD. Right. And Kyrie's like, F it, give me the ball, because they revert back to the like, I'm still me. This guy can't guard me. I'm gonna go get a bucket. That can work in some instances, but it's just like you got to be able to get stops.
Right.
The other thing I feel like, anytime they face, and this has been years upon years, and I blame Sean Marks for this. Anytime they face a team that has an imposing big center, and I'm not talking about like a Joel, or just somebody that just wants to go in the paint, grab rebounds, and just they they lose. So it always happens with Valanciunas. It will happen with Steven Adams. There's a couple other sense I'm forgetting, but like
Embiid. Yeah.
it always happens. Like it always because the big thing everybody was like the team needs to
Mitchell
get
Robinson. Sorry, no, I'm kidding.
I just imposing big man,
I'm kidding.
not a small forward stuck in a big man's body. I'm sorry,
Wow.
like
Shots fired. Shots fired.
and I love Mitch. Mitch is one of my favorite players. I love Mitch Rob, baby. I love his preseason videos when he's just dribbling on the court and he's shooting threes. That's the Mitch I
Against
want.
16-year-old. Against 16-year-old to
Bring
their
that to the
homecoming.
league. Bring that to
My
the
goodness.
league, brother.
No, but your point's taken. I get what you're saying. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's time to panic yet as a Nets fan. I think that they win games against they'll beat like the Hornets, right? So like if this was against the Hornets or if this was against like the Pacers,
They might not.
they're gonna
just
win.
because you said that
You know
now.
what I mean?
Just because you said that now, they're probably not gonna beat the Hornets.
They'd beat the Thunder. You know what I mean? Like, well, who knows? Speaking
Yeah.
of the Thunder, let's move on to a team that didn't beat the Thunder tonight, and that was the Los Angeles Clippers. They lose. They're off to a 2-3 start. Paul George was questionable to play, and he ended up playing. Did not play well. Kawhi didn't play. John Wall did play. They're 2-3. They have not looked good at all, even in their victories, even in their wins. This is another team that lost me money in Vegas. Wow. When can we fairly judge the Los Angeles Clippers
In the playoffs.
in the playoffs? Right now they're
playoffs.
not on pace to make the playoffs.
In the playoffs playing. I mean, it's only about 5 games in the playoffs. They're
So,
I don't know.
you're saying that we don't know who they are until we see until we watch the
Yeah.
playoffs?
Yeah, they're gonna like. I feel like the team is gonna. They're not They feel like the type of team that's not worried about positioning. They don't care as long as they get in. They're just so confident in what they have.
How
And
can
as
you
long,
be confident when you haven't proved anything?
but that was my point when everybody was like saying that they have enough to win a championship. But I'm like,
Right.
as a team, they carried them. So they've been saying this whole year, like this is a championship team. It's championship or bust. Like we're like whatever 2-3 deep at every position. We have 25 3-and-D players. Like it's
They do have 25 3-and-D players.
like they got people on their bench who don't play that could be starting for other teams.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean that's why I like them. They're really deep.
yeah, then that could also lend to be a problem because you don't get consistent minutes. But a lot of people have faith in Ty Lue coaching. They have faith in
Yeah.
like defense as a team. I think it's just again it's early. Hopefully Kawhi is okay and he's healthy and he's able to play more games. But I think they're gonna be fine. I'm not really. I don't know if they're a championship team. I don't have that.
Right.
I don't get that. But like I feel like they're a playoff team and you're gonna be fine. That's been
I
my
think their
feeling.
ceiling is a championship team. I don't know if they are. If you were to go into the future, come back and be like, Josh, the Clippers won the championship. What do you think of that? Like, yeah, all right, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because I could see how it could happen. I think I'm a little surprised though, just because, like you said, I understand that there's chemistry issues. I understand they need to play together, but this team has largely played together, with the exception of like Kawhi and John Wall. And Kawhi didn't play today. They made that trade last year for Covington and Norm, and they seem to fit pretty well. So it's not like they need to get antiquated with anything. You have the same coach. So for me, I get maybe a slow start, but they shouldn't be losing to teams like the Thunder. That's kind of ridiculous to me. It's a little much, and I don't understand why they are. I mean, some teams come out the gates hot and some don't. So maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but I'm a little worried if I'm a Clippers fan, just because you want to see a sense of urgency and you want to see it kind of click a little more, just because it's not a completely new team. It's not. And I know Kawhi hasn't played in a while, but Paul George has been playing and the rest of that core has been playing, aside from John Wall, who's coming off the bench. It's not even like you're handing the keys to John Wall. He just has to get in where he fits in. And John Wall actually has been playing pretty well. So for me, it's like, I'm a little concerned. I am. I haven't watched too many Clipper games. I watched 2 of them, and both of them, they just kind of, it's the energy for me. It just kind of seems like they walk on the court and they think they're going to win the game just because they're the Clippers and because they have more talent and they're deeper.
Do you think at this point it's correctable?
Yeah, I do. I think everything with the Clippers is correctable because they have the roster.
Yeah.
You have, like you said, you have 25 3-and-D guys. You have a deep bench. You have Kawhi and Paul George, who to me are two top 15 players in the league. Whether or not they're redundant is another thing. Whether or not they can work together and exist together is another thing. You have, John Wall, who looks like he's good. And I just feel like for me, it's more of an attitude thing or more of an urgency thing that we, seen from the Clippers before. I mean, they lost a 3-1 lead in the bubble, and I think a lot of it has to do with the attitude of the team. Sometimes your team's DNA doesn't change just because, the coach
But
changes.
I don't know, man. Losing Doc I think, is a positive, but
All right.
that's another Philly shot. So.
All right, Kwab, you ready to close out the show with some For Real or Fugazi?
Let's do it.
For real or fugazi? Are they the real thing, or are they a fraudulent entity not dignified enough to be inserted into the conversation?
Yes, it's time for Real or Fugazi. Teams that got off to a hot start. This is the most simple segment of all of the segments, and my favorite segment to do with Kwab. I'm going to name a team. Kwab and I are going to tell you whether or not their hot start is for real or Fugazi. Kwab, are you ready to get started?
Oh, let's do it.
All right. First, it's the Utah Jazz. The best team in the West.
Best team in the West. They're
Danny
for real.
Ainge, GM of the year. Laurie
For real.
Markkinen, MVP.
They're for real.
Stop
For real.
it.
For
Stop
real.
it.
For real.
They're
Hey,
not
yo,
for
the
real.
All-Star game is going to be in Salt Lake this year.
Yes.
They're going to have a representative. You know what I mean? Everybody, the partying, people going to be out there partying with the Mormons. It's going to be wild. The Jazz are for real, baby. You heard it here first. You know what I mean?
Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Danny Ainge?
Look, the Jazz, if the Jazz keep this roster and they don't completely blow it up because they have a chance to like somehow sneak into the play-in. I don't see it.
Kwab, come on.
Yes, I have. Yes.
Danny
Yes.
Ainge did not do what he did in the summer to sneak into the play-in.
You think that a team that you're looking at a roster, you look on that roster,
Listen.
roster on paper, and you think that team is gonna be like is just gonna be cool with just sitting down and tanking. They're not constructed like the Thunder. The Thunder by in 2 months are gonna have like 5 G League players starting for them. With
I think the Jazz will too. I think Danny Ainge is going to force that hand.
I get it. It's for Victor. I understand.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, that was the whole plan. Why would you get rid of Donovan? I
Yeah,
understand get rid of Rudy. Like, you got a haul in the Rudy trade. You could have built off of that. If you wanted to compete. So
True.
I don't know. To me, they're Fugazi. And also, like, the West is deep. Let's not pretend like, yeah, they play hard and they have players, but they're not better than like 9 or 10 teams.
Who's gonna be ahead of them? The Lakers? Like, nah, they're for real.
All right, let's move on to the next team. Frio Fugazi, the Portland Trailblazers. What you got, Kwab?
Blazers are. Comes with an asterisk. Blazers always come with an asterisk for me.
Why?
Blazers, because I'll explain. Blazers are always for real
Okay.
if they're healthy.
For real if they're healthy.
The
Okay.
problem with the Blazers is that they're never healthy. And I worried about this last year when they were hiring Chauncey Billups. I was like, people were like, oh, they need a new coach. I'm like, I don't think they need a new coach.
Mhm.
They need like a voodoo doctor to clear up whatever the F is going on over there, brother. Like, hey, the Blazers the only team I know. I can't think about this, right? When was the last time the Blazers were like fully healthy in the playoffs?
Last time the Blazers were fully healthy in the playoffs was probably the time they went to the Western Conference Finals. Right?
Yeah, and even then, I don't know if there were like some of the. If you really think about like even when they were in the bubble and they were like Dame went on that run,
Yeah.
CJ like broke his back and then Dame like snapped his. It's always like the weirdest injuries that I've never heard, and
Right.
like oh Robert Covington broke half his face. I'm like, wait, what? It would be like Nurkic is playing well. His foot fell off. I was watching that game when it happened. I freaked out. I was like, yo, what's happening? Like, if they're healthy,
Right.
if they're healthy with the team, the way they're constructed, they have a chance of being a playoff team because you have Dame. Dame will always give you a chance, and they have a lot of wings. But that's the asterisk. I really hope they stay healthy because I just want to see a healthy Blazers team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say for real as well. I think this team was underrated to start the season. I think a lot of people slept on them just because of the way they finished last year, not really realizing that a lot of players they had on the roster last year are players who are fighting to get into league and not have, haven't proven themselves in the league yet with a rookie head coach who hasn't coached before in his life. Like the circumstances were just like made for the record being the way they were. I think getting Jeremy Grant was an underrated acquisition, helps defensively. And they, going back to like the conversation we had about the Nets, like the Nets don't know themselves. I think the Blazers know exactly who they are. And I think everyone on that team knows their role. And with maybe the exception of Nurk. Nurk sometimes like gets out of pocket and thinks he's Jokic. But aside from Nurk, I think everyone pretty much knows their role and is cool with it. Like no one really complains about it. I think everyone knows that Dame's the man there. I think Grant he knows what he has to do. I think Simons knows that he's like the new sidekick. Nasir Little's cool coming off the bench. Like I like them a lot, but I just don't know if the talent's there for them to actually contend for a championship. Like to me, their ceiling is a second round exit.
Okay.
All right, let's move next to your New York Knicks. For real. Or Fugazi?
The unbiased Nets opinion.
Don't do this.
Yo, in your mind, okay, I'll ask you, are they
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go first. I want to know if they're for real. And
Okay,
then as you tell me if they're for real, tell me who they've played. So
All right, let me see if I can move the goalpost really quick.
please do that.
When you say for real, what do you mean?
What do you mean by for real?
it's my
It's your segment, brother.
It's my segment.
It's your segment,
Okay. Stop, Josh. Stop. Give a straight answer, Josh.
I'll give you my answer if you're still.
I'll give you my answer. I'll give you my answer.
Okay.
I think this hot start, the direction it's going, which is 3-1, one of the better teams in the East. I think that hot start in general is Fugazi. I think the Knicks are more of like a 500 basketball team. I do think they're a team that you have to play hard against every night, or like they will beat you. You can't come into the Garden and think it's a W. Like they will beat you. I think they might surprise some teams on the road. They have a tough road trip coming up, like a really tough, like 6 to 8 game stretch coming up. In about 2 weeks, I could be talking about the Knicks being like 4-9 or something. So who knows? But I do think I like what I see. I think they're going to be competitive. I don't think we're going to have the same frustrations as Knicks fans as we had last year with the team. And I think, I said they're going to win 43 games, and I think they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat right now. They lost to the team they were supposed to lose to. And I think that pattern kind of continues for the whole year. I think they're pretty much going to beat up on teams like the Pistons and the Hornets and lose to teams like the Grizzlies and the Bucks. Maybe catch one of them sleeping one night, and then maybe, they get caught up and lose to the Pacers in Indiana or something like that. But it ends up being a 500 basketball team.
I mean, the Memphis game was still winnable.
Yeah, and I was happy, but like again, like Brooks was out. Like Memphis didn't have their team, so it was like.
I'm sorry. Did you say Brooks was out? That's so that's.
I mean, how important he is.
He is okay. To me, I'm not even gonna get on the Dylan. No, he's him. He is him. He is him.
Capital H, capital I, lowercase m though.
He's Himothy. Himothy Brooks. Himothy Brooks. I agree with you, but I think that I agree with you because I feel like they're for real in the sense that they're back to feeling like the team the first year when with Tibbs and Julius Randle was playing well in the sense that they were. I said this before last season when they had a bad year. They felt like the team that wins games you're not supposed to because they play hard, and so and it feels like a playoff game every time you play against them, and it feels like they're back to that feeling where they're playing on both ends, and Jalen Brunson is making plays when it's the team seems to like stall out a little bit. He makes big plays. I've always said this: Tibbs is gonna get you in the playoffs. So like Tibbs is the type of coach that will get you like hella high water. He's gonna figure out a way. If it's to play you 90 minutes in a 40 minutes game, he will do it if it will get you to playoffs. Like the game against the Hornets where they were able to pull it off. That's not a game they might have won last year.
They lose that game last year.
Exactly. So like this year it feels different. And even though it's against like the Hornets, who's like coached by Steve Clifford, who I call Diet Tibbs.
Diet tips.
These diet tips. So he's the same. When he was on the Magic, he would find a way of getting them in the playoffs every year. He finds a way. He
Yeah.
doesn't and it's defensively. So I always call him diet tips. So just Tibbs has a reputation. I just feel like I don't know if they're one of the top teams in the East. Obviously, they're not better. I don't think they're better.
Their ceiling's low. Like
They're
you
not-
can talk about the Sixers, like their ceiling is high. You can say whatever you want with the Nets. Their ceiling is high. Same with the Celtics. Same with the Heat. Even though I don't think the Heat are as good as people think they are. There are teams in the East where you look, the Hawks even, like who I don't like, who I think are kind of overrated and benefited from the Eastern Conference Final, whatever. But even like the Hawks, you can convince me like their ceiling's pretty high. The Knicks, to me, their ceiling is like at best winning the play-in round and then getting smacked in the first round.
I don't know, man. I think it might be a little higher than that.
I don't know, man. Who are they going to beat in the first round? Like,
Sixers.
There's Sixers. All right, let's move on to the next team. It is the New Orleans Pelicans, off to a good start. I think a lot of people expected this. Kwab, Pelicans, for real, Fugazi.
Oh, for real. That's easy. That's for real. Any team that has Jose Alvarado is for real. So,
Representing New York City.
Talking about,
That's
brother.
right.
Yeah, baby.
All the Puerto Ricans from the city, son. I am Jose Alvarado. I'm gonna get a bunch of my Puerto Rican family members to do a I am Jose Alvarado promo video because he is us.
Yeah,
I
man.
see him out there and he represents me. He represents our community.
I like that team, man. They're deep. Like they were great last year, and then to be able to plug in Zion, it's kind of like it's unfair. But
hopefully he stays healthy.
Yeah. He looks even like he looked great the first game against the Nets. Obviously, it's the Nets. So, but he looks like in great spirits in terms of being out the year, always smiling and still attacking the basket, left-handed. Even though everybody knows he's gonna do it, can't stop him.
Can't stop it.
Can't stop it. Yeah, I think they're for real.
It's wild how that CJ McCollum trade changed everything for them because we were talking about the Pelicans they're not building right around Zion. This is a waste of time. They should blow it up. Then they trade for CJ, and all of a sudden you look at the team and Herb Jones. You strike kind of gold with him on the defensive end at least, and you're like, wow, we actually have a squad here all of a sudden. It goes to show you never know how things change in the NBA. Things change very fast in the NBA, and that's why I advocate. I was on a podcast. Shout out to Chris LeBron off the ball. We're talking about the Knicks and their path, and it's I'm not always a fan of tanking because things happen so fast in this league. Things change so fast. Everyone thought the Nets and Lakers were going to be the finals last year, and I look at them now, and that's not a shot at you and the Nets, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Yeah. Suns 2 years ago, no one thought they would be in the finals. They're in the finals, and then they were in the Western. You never know. You never know. So, shout out to the Pelicans. I'm happy for them. Happy for that fan base. Let's move on to the next team. For real or Fugazi, the Atlanta Hawks.
I don't like them. I'm still not a. I don't. They might end up being for real, but I just don't. I haven't been able to watch enough games yet to get a really good grasp of them. But they haven't. Yeah. Some of the games I've watched, they haven't close games with teams they shouldn't have close games with.
Yeah.
Especially with the talent they have on paper. But I don't know. Maybe they'll figure it out moving forward. But I still think they need to work out the Trae Young, DeJounte Murray dynamic moving forward.
So this is my ultimate casual take. This is my casual fan take. This is the NBA Twitter. I don't know what I'm talking about take. I haven't watched a single second of Hawks basketball. I still think they're fugazi. I just don't believe in that team.
At least you said you guys.
I'll be honest. So Hawks fans, you can come at me and I'll back off and be like, you're right.
Speaking true.
Getting DeJounte Murray. I like DeJounte Murray. I guess pairing him with Trae Young didn't really make too much sense to me. I could see why it would make sense to a lot of people because you have a very talented backcourt now, and DeJounte kind of helps, take off the pressure with Trae Young handling the ball. But to me, when I think Hawks basketball and at their best on the offensive end, I think the ball in Trae Young's hand running the pick and roll, and you either have to collapse on Trae and he kicks, or he's going to kill you. And I think anything you do on the offensive end to take that away kind of diminishes how good you are offensively as a team. And getting DeJounte, how are you going to keep him happy? How is he going to be involved in the offense when he's not a really great spot-up shooter? So I think, from my perspective, I thought he would struggle on the offensive end coming into the season. He'd be fine defensively. He's a fantastic defender, and he's going to help him out, on the perimeter. And the Hawks last year were an awful team guarding the three-point line. I, again, casual NBA take. I know. I haven't watched a single second of Hawks basketball, so I don't know how they're doing this year. Like you said, I've seen the scores, so I'm like, all right, the game was a little close, but they pull out the victory. Got off to a nice start here. But I'm going to say Fugazi in the sense where I don't think this team comes close to the Eastern Conference Finals. I do think they're a playoff team, but I do think it's similar to last year where, they play a team like the Heat and they're out in the first round. Last one, Kwab. Let's do this. For real or Fugazi, the Washington Wizards. What do you got?
Fugazi. They need to trade for Russell Westbrook.
Stop. All right, we're going to end the show here. Thanks, everybody. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this, man.
You're doing it, bro.
Because, first of all, the words they need to trade for Russell Westbrook should not be uttered on a serious podcast ever.
They need Russell Westbrook.
They don't need Russell Westbrook.
They don't need Russell Westbrook. But do you think there's a team that do you see them going far? Do you even see them making
no. The Hawks, I see them making the play in maybe the sixth seed.
The Wizards.
Not the Hawks. Yeah, the Wizards. That's what I meant. The Wizards were the team. There's a team every year that kind of sneaks up on. The Cavs were that last year. To me, I picked the Wizards to be what the Cavs were, where it's oh my God, the Wizards are the 5 seed, the 4 seed, halfway through the year. And then maybe they fall off and they get the 7 seed and they get bounced to the play-in or something like that. But that's what I pictured the Wizards to be. I like the KP addition, man. He played well at the end of the year last year. Having him and Beal, I think they complement each other. They got to play defense. That's the problem with the Wizards for me, is that they got to play better defense. But I think they're talented, and I think they're going to catch a lot of teams off guard. Got off to a hot start last year. I think they're going to do the same thing this year, and I think they're going to kind of maintain that for most of the year.
You don't think
so? I think Fugazi in the long term, but for real in the sense where they're better than people expected.
You don't think Russell Westbrook solves some of those problems?
No, I don't think he solves anything.
You don't think he would be a great fit on that roster?
No.
Why not?
No. I don't think Russell Westbrook is a great fit on any roster. I think if you're going to start if you're going to have Russell Westbrook on a roster,
blasphemy.
He needs to be the first person you have, and then you kind of fill in everything, because it's impossible to just stick him in a situation.
You put him in that situation is a perfect fit. They have shooters, they have wings, they have a big man that can roll and pop. It brings space where he can just attack the rim like a maniac,
And you still think he can do that at a high level?
I didn't
trust him with the basketball.
I didn't say that either.
You trust him to make smart decisions.
I didn't say that either. I never.
You trust him to win basketball games.
I never said that either.
You're implying it. You're implying it when you say they should trade for him.
I just said they should trade for him.
Why?
Because he would get them into the playoffs.
All right, that's gonna do it for today's show. We're done. We're done. I'm
doing this. Everybody who doesn't know, Josh is a huge Russell Westbrook admirer for years now.
Sarcasm.
Very pay attention to my shirt. Sarcasm. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, in all seriousness, I think they're Fugazi. I don't believe in the Wizards. I don't know. I just don't like the way they're what's the right word? I think they feel like they'll win games, but I don't see them going far. Winning enough games to maybe they'll make the play-in.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if they'll win the play-in game. Beal ends up getting hurt every year. KP ends up getting hurt every year. And then you're going to be depending on Kuzma and Rui Hachimura moving forward, to be the focal point of your offense. And Denji Ivy, it's a weird team. I don't know. So I'll go for Fugazi.
All right. Fugazi for the Wizards. Well, that's going to do it for the show, Kwab. Thank you for coming on, man. Thanks for joining me.
Always.
I always appreciate it. You the homie. You're an honorary co-host of The Dime. I think fans know who you are by now, but let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me in the kitchen cooking that chicken, man. You know what it is.
Whipping it up.
No, I can't do that. The feds might be
Whipping
listening.
it up.
Yeah, you can find me at Kwab, AKAS, KWAB, AKAYES on almost every platform. Yeah, and if not, you can just find me at the Dime NBA every other week, probably just talking nonsense.
That's right.
Moving forward. Yeah, Nets all the way. You heard it here first.
That's right. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. You can follow The Dime at The Dime NBA. I also have my own YouTube channel for The Dime. Just type in The Dime with Josh Rodriguez. You'll see it come up. If you're watching this show, you're watching it on the Balls Life Podcast Network, so make sure you subscribe. and put on the notification so you know whenever the Dime is releasing an episode. We also have other podcasts as well. So if you don't enjoy my takes, maybe you enjoy somebody else's. I don't know why I'm promoting other people's shows, but that's what I do. Like, the assist, baby. It's a dime.
Dime.
It's a dime, baby.
That's the point guard working, people.
It's what I does. I'm the point guard of the Balls Life Podcast Network.
Point guard working.
That's what I do. That's what I does. All right, everybody. I'll see you next week for another episode of The Dime.
Peace.